Hello friends, Steve Stockton here with you. Welcome to our latest video. Every year, many people set out on expeditions to discover the wonders of nature. Although most of these expeditions are successful and uneventful, there are some areas where individuals continue to vanish without a trace. These enigmatic disappearances happen in places like the famous Bermuda Triangle or the expansive wilderness of our national parks, leaving us perplexed, intrigued, and seeking answers. In this episode, we'll examine 13 places where people disappear into the ether without rational explanation. Join me, let's walk and see. First up, the Bermuda Triangle. The Bermuda Triangle, or the Devil's Triangle, is situated in the Atlantic Ocean near the coasts of Bermuda, Puerto Rico, and Florida. It is infamous for its mysterious disappearances and is also referred to as the Devil's Triangle. The region covers an area of around 500,000 square miles. It's believed to be a hub of UFO sightings and paranormal and supernatural occurrences. Reports of strange events in this area date back to the time of Christopher Columbus. In March 1918, the USS Cyclops, a collier that assisted U.S. warships in different areas, vanished with all crew members during World War I. The possibility of the Cyclops being sunk by a German submarine led to numerous search efforts, but the wreckage has yet to be found, leaving its disappearance a perplexing enigma. The lack of a distress signal and any sign of its location further adds to the mystery. Then at 2 p.m. on December 5, 1945, Lieutenant Charles C. Taylor led a team of 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers on a navigational training flight from the U.S. Naval Air Station in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Lieutenant Taylor was an experienced naval aviator who had flown extensively during World War II. The group of planes, known as Flight 19, had been assigned Navigation Problem Number 1, which involved flying east from the Florida coast, conducting bombing runs at Hens and Chickens Shoals, turning north, flying over Grand Bahama Island, and then returning to NAS Fort Lauderdale. The weather was expected to be normal, with just a few scattered showers. During the initial part of the flight, the team successfully released practice bombs without any issues. However, as they turned north for the second leg of the journey, Flight 19 encountered problems. At around 3:45 p.m., the flight tower in Fort Lauderdale received a message from Taylor, who sounded anxious and disoriented. He reported, "I cannot see land. We appear to be off course." The tower asked for their position, and there was a few moments of silence. Tower personnel peered into the clear day in the directions where the planes were supposed to be operating, but there was no sign of them. "We cannot be sure where we are," the flight leader announced. "Repeat, cannot see land." Communication was interrupted for roughly 10 minutes, and upon its resumption, the voice heard was not that of the flight leader. The voice reported that they could not locate west and that everything appeared incorrect. They could not be sure of any direction and everything seemed unfamiliar, including the ocean. Following a further pause, tower personnel intercepted transmissions indicating that the flight leader had relinquished command to an unknown pilot for undisclosed reasons. The new leader's voice finally broke the radio silence after 20 minutes, but it was shaky and bordering on hysteria. They reported that they were lost and unable to determine their location. The pilot mentioned that they might be around 225 miles northeast of the base and continued to ramble incoherently before uttering the last words ever heard from Flight 19. They said they were entering white water and confirmed that they were utterly lost. In response, the tower quickly dispatched 2 PBM Mariner flying boats equipped with rescue equipment. The rescue team was looking for Flight 19's last known estimated position. They communicated with the tower 10 minutes after takeoff, but sadly, that was the last time one of the rescue planes spoke with Fort Lauderdale's flight operations. This event caused 6 aircraft and their crew to go missing. The Coast Guard, Navy, and Naval Aviation personnel searched over 25,000 square miles of Atlantic and Gulf waters for 5 days, but found nothing. The Flight 19 tragedy resulted in the loss of 14 men, while 13 more were lost during the attempted rescue by PBM Mariner. Many theories attempt to explain different phenomena, ranging from environmental factors and human mistakes to hexagonal clouds, methane hydrates, electronic fog, the lost city of Atlantis, and yes, even the paranormal. Despite this, the most likely explanations for most occurrences are inclement weather and human error. Next, we have the Sargasso Sea. The Sargasso Sea is renowned for its powerful undercurrents that deter many sailors. It is also well known for phantom ships, with the Mary Celeste, a British merchant ship found adrift in the Sargasso Sea on December 5, 1872, with no crew on board, being the most widely recognized. Ocean currents surround this vast section of the North Atlantic Ocean, and it is well known for the floating sargassum seaweed. The Sargasso Sea is distinct because it is defined by ocean currents rather than land, resulting in a unique ecosystem home to a diverse range of plant and animal life. Scientists have conducted extensive research and exploration on the Sargasso Sea to comprehend the intricate interactions among the ocean currents that converge in this region and the diverse marine life that inhabit it. In 1969, a British businessman and amateur sailor, Donald Crowhurst, went missing when his yacht got stuck in the Sargasso Sea. He participated in the Sunday Times Golden Globe Race, a solo global sailing competition. Unfortunately, his ill-equipped boat started to fill with water. Now, there are clues in Crowhurst's 3 logbooks, a tape recorder, and a 16mm camera found on his yacht, which suggested he began to cable home false trip reports about speed and position 2 weeks into the race once he realized his inadequate vessel would not win. It is assumed that he went overboard, either intentionally or accidentally, and drowned. The boat showed no signs of a rogue wave or accident that could have caused Crowhurst to fall overboard. The logbooks also detailed how Crowhurst was slowly losing his mind as he drifted aimlessly and alone in the ocean, writing a 25,000-word essay on time travel. "It is finished," he wrote in the logbook at the end of June 1969. "It is finished. It is the Mercy. I will resign the game." Crowhurst's body has never been recovered. Over time, the Sargasso Sea has become known for its intriguing incidents of regional disappearances. Despite widespread speculation and folklore, no concrete evidence suggests that anything beyond natural phenomena, such as storms and rogue waves, is accountable for these disappearances. The Sargasso Sea remains a crucial area of focus for scientists and researchers who aim to comprehend the intricate relationships between ocean currents and the diverse marine life in this exceptional ecosystem. And now, the Michigan Triangle. The Michigan Triangle, also known as the Lake Michigan Triangle, is in North America's Great Lakes region. The cities of Ludington and Benton Harbor in Michigan and Manitowoc in Wisconsin generally define the triangle. The Michigan Triangle has a troubling past of ships disappearing without explanation. The earliest reported occurrence goes back to 1891, when the Thomas Hume, a schooner carrying lumber, vanished without a trace. 117 years later, the ship was identified with close to complete certainty at the bottom of the southern part of Lake Michigan. Over the years, several other ships have met with the same fate in the region, including the Rosabelle in 1921, the SS Francisco Morazan in 1960, and the Carl D. Bradley in 1958. It is believed that more than 30 vessels have been lost in this mysterious triangle. And it's not only ships that have disappeared. On June 23, 1950, Flight 2501, a Northwest Airlines DC-4, vanished over Lake Michigan while traveling from New York to Minneapolis with 55 passengers and 3 crew members on board. The Michigan Shipwreck Research Association, or the MSRA, a Michigan-based nonprofit, conducts an annual search for the missing airplane. The investigation began in 2004 as a collaboration between Clive Cussler, an author and explorer, and the MSRA. Cussler withdrew from the project in 2013, but his side-scan sonar operator returned to Michigan in 2015, 2016, and 2017 to investigate some leads uncovered by the MSRA. In 2008, a mass grave was found containing the remains of some of the 58 victims of Flight 2501. The grave was unmarked and located in a St. Joseph area cemetery. A black granite marker with the victims' names was placed in Riverview Cemetery in a ceremony attended by 58 family members. The main wreckage of the aircraft has never been found. Now, many theories exist about the disappearances that occur in the Michigan Triangle. Some suggest supernatural causes like curses or hauntings, while others attribute natural phenomena such as storms, currents, or magnetic anomalies. Moreover, some individuals suspect that human error or foul play is responsible. Despite the potential hazards, some people still opt to explore the Great Lakes and unravel the enigmas of the Michigan Triangle. Next, we have Lake Superior. Lake Superior is the largest of the Great Lakes in North America and is famous for its stunning beauty and rich natural resources. However, it is also notorious for mysterious disappearances that have puzzled experts for years. The lake's harsh winds have caused several ships to sink over time, with some vessels vanishing without any evidence in the frigid and murky depths of the lake. There have been reports of people going missing in this area since the 1800s. The earliest recorded incident occurred in 1816, when a fur trader named Jean Baptiste crossed the lake with a group of Native Americans. According to legend, Baptiste was taken by the spirits of the lake and was never seen again. The Edmund Fitzgerald shipwreck is a famous and intriguing event in Great Lakes history. It's second only to the Titanic in media coverage, literature, and movies. Gordon Lightfoot's ballad, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, brought attention to the ship in 1976. The Edmund Fitzgerald sank in 1975 with 29 crew members on board near Whitefish Point, Michigan. The Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum has conducted 3 expeditions to the wreckage site. The Edmund Fitzgerald left Wisconsin with iron ore pellets on November 9, 1975. The ship was soon accompanied by another vessel, the Arthur M. Anderson, and radioed with the captain, Bernie Cooper. Aware of an approaching November storm from the Great Plains to the Great Lakes, Captain McSorley and Captain Cooper decided to take a northerly course across Lake Superior. This route would protect them from the highlands on the Canadian shore and take them between Isle Royale and the Keweenaw Peninsula. They later turned southeast to reach the safety of Whitefish Point. Weather conditions continued to deteriorate. Gale warnings had been issued at 7 p.m. on November 9, upgraded to storm warnings early in the morning of the 10th. While conditions were terrible, with winds gusting to 50 knots and seas at 12 to 16 feet, both captains had often piloted their vessels in similar conditions. In the early afternoon of November 10, the Fitzgerald had passed Michipicoten Island and was approaching the Caribou Island. The Anderson approached Michipicoten about 3 miles off the West End Light. At 3:30 p.m. that afternoon, Captain McSorley radioed Captain Cooper and said, "Anderson, this is the Fitzgerald. I have a fence rail down, 2 vents lost or damaged, and a list. I'm checking down. Will you stay by me till I get to Whitefish?" McSorley checked his speed to allow the Anderson to close the distance for safety. Captain Cooper asked McSorley if he had his pumps going, and McSorley said, "Yes, both of them." As the afternoon wore on, radio communications with the Fitzgerald concerned navigational information, but Captain McSorley offered no extraordinarily alarming reports. At about 5:20 p.m., the crest of a wave smashed the Anderson's starboard lifeboat, making it unusable. Captain Cooper reported winds from the northwest by west at a steady 58 knots, with gusts to 70 knots and seas of 18 to 25 feet. According to Captain Cooper, at about 6:55 p.m., he and the men in Anderson's pilot house felt a bump, felt the ship lurch, and then turned to see a monstrous wave engulfing their entire vessel from astern. The surge worked its way along the deck, crashing on the back of the pilot house, driving the bow of the Anderson down into the sea. Captain Cooper stated, "Then the Anderson just raised up and shook herself off all that water, baroof, just like a big dog. Another wave, just like the first one or bigger, hit us again. I watched those 2 waves head down the lake toward the Fitzgerald, and I think those were the 2 that sent her under." There are still conflicting theories about what caused this tragedy. The 3 expeditions conducted by GLSHS revealed that the ship likely submerged bow first into a large body of water, as damage to the front suggests a sudden and powerful impact on the superstructure. Despite extensive investigations, there's no conclusive evidence to determine what caused the sinking. Still, the most probable cause was a loss of buoyancy and stability from massive cargo hold flooding. The ship's bell is now on display at the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum as a memorial to honor the lost crew. There are various theories surrounding the disappearing cases in Lake Superior. Some propose that supernatural beings or the lake's unpredictable weather conditions and currents may be responsible. Others think that the depth of the lake and its extremely cold temperatures could be the main culprits, as divers and rescue teams find it challenging to locate wreckage or bodies. Lake Superior has been an important source of fresh water and fish for thousands of years. It's also been the location of significant cultural and historical events and has played a substantial role in developing the Great Lakes region. Although there have been unsolved disappearances on the lake, its breathtaking beauty, abundant resources, and cultural significance continue to inspire awe and wonder among those who visit its shores. Next up, the Devil's Sea. The Devil's Sea, also known as the Dragon's Triangle, is in the Pacific Ocean off the south coast of Japan. This area is infamous for its dangerous and mysterious reputation due to its connection to the disappearance of numerous vessels and fishing boats. Shrouded in mystery and surrounded by myth and legend, its importance is comparable to that of the Bermuda Triangle. Japanese folklore tells of a dragon that inhabits the area and guards a palace at the bottom of the ocean. The dragon is said to cause strange and dangerous occurrences in the region, including unexplained lights, whirlpools, and sudden storms. During the 1940s and 50s, numerous fishing vessels and over 5 military ships vanished in the waters between Miyake Island and Iwo Jima. Japan responded by dispatching the research vessel Kyomaru No. 5 in 1952 to investigate the missing ships that had reportedly disappeared in the Dragon's Triangle. Regrettably, the 31 crew members who embarked on the research vessel to explore the Devil's Sea met the same fate as the crews of past ships. Although the Kyomaru No. 5 wreckage was eventually discovered and recovered, the location of the crew members is still a mystery to this day. The Devil's Sea is a location that has captivated people from all over the world. Experts believe that natural phenomena like rogue waves, volcanic activity beneath the sea, and strong ocean currents may cause the disappearances in the area. Next up, the Alaska Triangle. The Alaska Triangle is a vast expanse of rugged terrain located in the southern Alaskan wilderness. This area has been the site of numerous mysterious disappearances that remain unexplained. The region comprises rough, icy mountains and tundras, with a significant portion yet to be explored. The triangle's boundaries are typically considered the space between Anchorage, Juneau, and Barrow. The strange vanishings in this area have perplexed investigators and given rise to various theories about what could happen in the Alaska Triangle. The Alaska Triangle has a lengthy history dating back to the early days of Alaska's settlement. The local Native Americans believed that the area was cursed and that anyone who entered it would never return. However, in the 20th century, the enigmatic disappearances that made the Alaska Triangle famous started occurring. During its flight from Anchorage to Montana in the Alaska Triangle on January 26, 1950, a military transport plane carrying 44 passengers disappeared without a trace. Despite an extensive search, no wreckage of the Douglas C-54 Skymaster or any bodies were found. David Downing, the leader of the Yukon Civil Air Search and Rescue Association, stated that whatever happened to them must have occurred rapidly, as there was no indication of engine trouble or any communication. Since then, many people have gone missing in the Alaska Triangle without explanation. On October 16, 1972, two influential political figures, U.S. House Majority Leader Hale Boggs and Alaska Representative Nick Begich, disappeared in a small plane while flying over the area. The aircraft and its occupants were never located, despite a massive search effort. All were later declared deceased. Numerous unexplained disappearances in the Alaska Triangle have led to various theories about what could have caused them. Some people think a powerful magnetic force in the area could be responsible for planes and ships going off course. Others suggest the possibility of extraterrestrial entities or the spirits of the native Alaskans who once lived there. According to local legends, a Sasquatch creature also terrorizes towns. One example is Portlock, a settlement on the southern edge of the Kenai Peninsula that was abandoned in the 1950s after villagers were reportedly attacked and killed by an unknown creature they called the Nantinak. Not only are there supernatural theories, but there are also logical explanations for the disappearances in the Alaska Triangle. The region is infamous for its harsh weather conditions and challenging terrain, which can cause significant obstacles for search and rescue teams. Furthermore, the expansive wilderness can cause people to become lost and confused, mainly if they are unfamiliar with the area. The enigma of the Alaska Triangle and the cause of the disappearances in the region remains a mystery. While some theories may seem implausible, it is evident that something peculiar is happening there. We may never know whether it's due to supernatural forces or the harsh wilderness of Alaska. Next up, Yosemite National Park. Yosemite National Park is in California's Sierra Nevada mountains and boasts breathtaking granite cliffs, lush forests, and magnificent waterfalls, making it an ideal location for nature lovers. However, the park has a strange history of disappearances. Although some of these incidents can be attributed to accidents or natural causes, others remain mysterious and have given rise to various theories and legends. The case of Stacy Arras' disappearance in Yosemite National Park is widely known. In 1981, the then 14-year-old girl from San Rafael, California, went backpacking with her father in the park. They set up camp close to the Merced River, but Stacy vanished without a trace. Despite a thorough search effort, she was never located. A 30-year-old Army reservist and hiker named Joel Thomason had planned a solo hiking trip starting from Hetch Hetchy on September 6, 2021. He intended to fish in the Lake Eleanor area and return on September 9, 2021. However, he may have decided to extend his trip and heads toward Cherry Lake or even as far as the Grand Canyon of the Tuolumne River. Joel was likely carrying a kayak, which was packed in a large red pouch attached to the exterior of his backpack. Despite immense efforts, Joel has yet to be located. Yosemite National Park has had multiple occurrences of hikers, climbers, and backpackers vanishing. While some cases have been resolved, others remain a mystery. The reason behind these disappearances is disputed, with some suggesting a serial killer or malicious force, while others theorize supernatural or paranormal causes. Experts have identified accidents like falling or getting lost in the wilderness as the primary reasons for disappearances in Yosemite National Park. Even experienced hikers and climbers can be at risk if unprepared due to the park's vast and rugged terrain, emphasizing the importance of being cautious while enjoying the great outdoors. And now, the Nevada Triangle. The Nevada Triangle, also known as the Nevada Desert Triangle, is in the western United States and connects Las Vegas, Reno, and Fresno. This area has gained notoriety due to the mysterious disappearances of planes that have occurred there throughout the years. According to thorough research and documentation, over 2,000 planes have crashed in the region from Reno to Las Vegas and Fresno, California, though some experts dispute the actual number. Many of these incidents occurred between the late 1960s and the 1990s. The pilots involved in these crashes were either discovered later, confirmed to have passed away, or disappeared without a trace. Steve Fawcett, a well-known explorer and aviator, took off in a super decathlon from a small Nevada airstrip on November 3, 2007, but seemingly disappeared without a trace. Despite extensive search and rescue operations that lasted for weeks and cost approximately $700,000, Fawcett was not found until more than a year later. A hiker stumbled upon his scattered ID cards along a trail. A few days later, the crash site was discovered, approximately 65 miles from where the aviator initially took off. 2 bones were later recovered a half-mile from the crash site, which were found to belong to Steve Fawcett. Numerous theories have been suggested to clarify the disappearances that occurred in the region. These theories vary from human mistakes and mechanical failures to inexplicable happenings like magnetic abnormalities, unidentified flying objects, and even the possibility of government concealment. Nevertheless, these disappearances probably occurred due to pilot errors, rugged landforms, and sudden, unpredictable weather occurrences. Regarding Fawcett's case, the NTSB determined that he faced a substantial downdraft of approximately 400 miles an hour, which was too powerful for his decathlon to withstand. Next up, Pyramid Lake. In 1844, John C. Fremont named Pyramid Lake in western Nevada after a unique pyramid-shaped rock formation. It is a remnant of ancient Lake Lahontan, which existed during the last ice age and covered a significant portion of northwestern Nevada. The lake has clear water, unusual ecosystems, and impressive rock formation. The salinity is approximately 1/6 of that of seawater. An article was written by Brian Bauhaus of the Sierra Nevada Ally in 2020 about the disappearance of Brian Osberg and Bob Glennon. The two had gone fishing on Pyramid Lake in January 2016, but never returned. Despite regional authorities' efforts to locate them, they were unsuccessful. The families then turned to Bruce's Legacy for help, a volunteer organization led by certified scuba divers Bruce and Keith Cormican. In 2016, after negotiating with the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe, Cormican was permitted to search for the missing fishermen. With the help of sonar, he located both bodies 130 feet underwater. Ongoing research is underway to discover the causes behind missing persons at Pyramid Lake. Some experts suggest that the lake's erratic weather patterns and water conditions could play a role in accidents and disappearances. Additionally, the rugged terrain encompassing the lake can make locating and saving distressed individuals challenging. Some speculate that supernatural or paranormal factors may be at play, while others attribute it to mishaps or criminal activity. Pyramid Lake attracts many outdoor enthusiasts and tourists, but visitors should be cautious of potential hazards in the area. And what about Pecos, New Mexico? Pecos, a town in San Miguel County, New Mexico, is charming, with a long and rich history dating back over 10,000 years to the pre-Columbian era. Pecos National Historical Park serves as a preservation site for the remains of Pecos Pueblo. This Native American settlement flourished from the 14th to the 17th century, as well as the 17th century Spanish mission. In the past, many people have gone missing without explanation in the vicinity of Pecos. Experts believe there may be a triangle of paranormal activity in the area. For example, in 1956, a family of 4 vanished mysteriously while camping in the nearby wilderness. Despite thorough searches, no evidence of their location was discovered, leaving their disappearance a mystery. Mel Nadel, 61 years old, disappeared on September 6, 2009, while hiking with 2 companions in the Elk Mountain area outside Pecos. This forest area consists of trails, private lanes, and logging roads. Depending on location, one can see the lights of Pecos and Santa Fe, as well as cabin lights at night. The quadrant is full of landmarks, including the Sangre de Cristo Mountains and the downward slopes of the Pecos Valley. Mel parked his 2001 Jeep Cherokee beside his friend's vehicles and approached the base camp near Forest Road. After discussing their plans, Mel's 2 friends went into the backcountry around 4:30 p.m. to hunt elk. On the other hand, Mel decided to build a blind near the camp. He was content with whatever came his way, whether he caught something or not. When Joe Muniz and his brother-in-law returned to the base camp at 7 p.m., they couldn't find Mel. They searched the camp and the surrounding area, but couldn't locate him. Mel's Jeep was parked off the dirt road near the hunters' vehicles, which meant he had yet to return to Santa Fe. Worried that Mel might be lost, the hunters sounded their air horns and fired their weapons to help him find the camp. When they realized enough time had passed, they called the authorities to report Mel missing. The search for Mel began the following day and soon became one of the most extensive operations Pecos, New Mexico had ever seen. Hundreds of official and unofficial rescuers scoured the area in search of Mel using various means such as airplanes, helicopters, all-terrain vehicles, equestrians, tracker dogs, and people on foot. However, Mel was unfortunately never found. Despite the extensive investigation, his disappearance remains a mystery. Mel's arrows, bow, or clothing was never located in the area where he went missing. There are varying opinions on the disappearances in this area. Some believe they may be due to supernatural causes, while others suggest more common reasons like foul play or accidents. Despite the unsettling reports of disappearances in Pecos, it remains a popular destination for tourists and outdoor enthusiasts alike. The region offers a variety of outdoor activities, including hiking, camping, fishing, and hunting, and is home to several stunning natural landmarks. Now, the Superstition Mountains. The Superstition Mountains in Arizona are famous for their rough landscape, stunning scenery, and captivating past. Nevertheless, various disappearances from the 1800s have given them a mystical and creepy reputation. According to legend, there's a hidden gold mine deep within the rough terrain of the mountains. Many treasure hunters have been intrigued by this and have ventured into the hills, but some have yet to return. In the early 1900s, an experienced prospector, Adolph Ruth, disappeared while searching for the rumored gold mine in the Superstition Mountains. In 1931, Harvey Mott discovered Ruth's punctured skull lying under a tree. The medical examiner believed the puncture was due to an Army-style .44 caliber revolver. Additional remains and some of Ruth's possessions were later recovered. In 1948, the partial remains of James A. Cravey, a retired photographer who disappeared while searching for the Lost Dutchman mine, was recovered by two men visiting Arizona. Cravey was the 20th reported person to perish at that time while searching for the infamous lost mine. Superstition's rough and uneven terrain and unpredictable weather conditions render it a hazardous location to explore, with a significant possibility of getting lost or injured. This is considered a contributing factor to the region's high count of missing people. Despite tales of missing persons and mythical gold mines, the Superstition Mountains still draw in adventurers, hikers, and excitement seekers. Next, the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park is situated on the boundary between Tennessee and North Carolina in the eastern part of the United States. It's a vast wilderness region famous for its stunning natural beauty, diverse wildlife, and cultural importance. Nevertheless, the park has been linked to several mysterious disappearances. According to the National Park Service, there have been over 1,600 disappearances since President Franklin Roosevelt formally dedicated the park in September of 1940. On June 14, 1969, 6-year-old Dennis Martin went missing while playing with his family in the park. He was never found, despite a thorough search involving hundreds of people, and the case remains unsolved. On October 8, 1976, Trini Gibson, who was 16 years old, was hiking with around 40 students from Bearden High School in Knoxville when she disappeared. Fellow students last saw Gibson as the group hiked back from Andrews Bald to the Clingman's Dome parking area. Trini has never been found. Some attribute the region's rugged landscape and erratic climate as possible reasons for these disappearances, but others propose the possibility of a curse by Native American spirits or even the presence of paranormal entities. To help visitors stay safe while exploring the wilderness, the National Park Service increased the number of signs and educational programs. The park remains a place of mystery and intrigue. And lastly, the Bennington Triangle. The Bennington Triangle in Vermont centers around Glastonbury Mountain and covers approximately 25 square miles of woodland, including Bennington, Woodford, Shaftesbury, and Somerset. Even among the indigenous population, the area was seldom visited except for ceremonial purposes, such as disposing of the dead. Stories were told of bear-like creatures that would silently follow people through the forest, only to catch and crush them to death. Additionally, a rock that appeared like any other would unexpectedly open and drop an unsuspecting person into a seemingly endless pit, never to be seen again. During the 1940s and 1950s, there were 6 disappearances in the area. In 1943, Carl Herrick and his cousin Henry were hunting and got separated. Henry returned to their campsite, but Carl never did. As darkness crept in, Henry contacted the authorities. After a 3-day search, Carl's body was found with his rifle against a tree 70 feet away. An autopsy later ruled that Carl was, quote, squeezed to death, end quote. In 1945, 4 hunters, led by 74-year-old Mitty Rivers, hunted close to Long Trail Road and Vermont Highway 9. Mitty went off alone and promised to return before lunch, but failed to return. Despite an extensive search, no evidence was found regarding his whereabouts. On December 1, 1946, an 18-year-old college student named Paula Weldon went missing while hiking the famous Long Trail in the Bennington area. Despite a thorough search effort, no trace of Paula was found. In 1950, 3 more people went missing from the same area. Theories into these disappearances range from natural disasters such as flash floods or animal attacks to supernatural reasons like alien abductions or the involvement of the local folklore figure known as the Bennington Monster. The Bennington Triangle has long been a source of fascination for paranormal enthusiasts and curious visitors alike due to the mysterious disappearances that have occurred there. In conclusion, many people have disappeared in places like the Bermuda Triangle and the Bennington Triangle, where strange, often unexplainable events occur. Though rational explanations can account for many of these disappearances, some cases remain unsolved and continue to fascinate the public today. As we discover more about our natural world, these mysteries will continue to stimulate our curiosity and remind us of our limited understanding. Hello, friends. Steve Stockton here with you. Today, we're going to be taking an inquiry into missing people and places with malevolent names. Join me. Let's take a walk and see. On the night of June 20th, 1965, 4 young men drove into the Mojave Desert, 90 miles northwest of Las Vegas, seeking a thrill. Their destination? A remote, foreboding limestone chasm, a geothermal abyss known as Devil's Hole. Ignoring the warning signs, Paul Gianconteri, 19, David Rose, 20, and Bill Alter, 19, scrambled under a fence and descended to a rock shelf overlooking the pool. Donning rudimentary scuba gear, the 3 slipped into what has been described as womb-like waters, a constant 92 degrees Fahrenheit. But sometime after midnight, the thrill turned to terror. Paul failed to resurface. In a frantic attempt to find his friend, David dove back in, followed by Bill. Bill descended 175 feet before losing sight of David, who vanished into the vast liquid darkness. He was the only one of the 3 to emerge. A massive rescue effort was launched, with divers plumbing the caverns, checking for air pockets where the boys might have survived. They found nothing. The bodies of Paul Gianconteri and his brother-in-law, David Rose, were never recovered. They were simply gone, swallowed by a hole named for the devil. This tragedy serves as a stark entry point into a deeper, more unsettling inquiry. What is the nature of the connection between places bearing strange and malevolent names, devil, diablo, witch, ghost, and the human tragedies of disappearance and death that so often seem to cluster around them? Are these names mere linguistic artifacts, historical footnotes on a map, or do they signify something more profound about the landscape itself, perhaps a warning etched into our geography? To even approach an answer, this video will employ a multidisciplinary analysis, examining these locations through the lens of toponymy, which is the study of place names, folklore, environmental psychology, and Fortean theory, named after Charles Fort, which investigates anomalous phenomena. These ominously named locations are not merely passive backdrops for tragedy, but are often active participants. They're liminal zones where the boundaries between myth and reality, sacred and profane, presence and absence become terrifyingly thin. The act of disappearance, in these contexts, represents the ultimate, irreversible crossing of that threshold. The names themselves are the warnings posted at the gate, markers of a territory where the familiar rules of the world may no longer apply. To understand the power of a name like Devil's Hole, one must first understand the science of naming itself. Toponymy, the academic study of place names, posits that names are not arbitrary labels, but rather rich historical and psychological data points. Derived from the Greek topos, or place, and onoma, name, the field operates on the foundational principle that every place name has a meaning, whether it describes a physical feature, records evidence of human occupation, or commemorates an event. And friends, the United States itself is literally littered with diabolical toponyms. There are at least 96 features named Devil's Canyon, 83 named Devil's Elbow, and 34 named Devil's Hole, among hundreds of others. Now, these names aren't random. They're a cultural record of perception, fear, and experience. Now, the names we assign to places profoundly influence our relationship with them, a concept central to environmental psychology. A sense of place, if you will, refers to the complex bond between people and spatial settings, the two-way transaction where we shape our places and, in turn, they shape us. A name like Devil's Punch Bowl or Hell's Half Acre immediately establishes a negative sense of place, priming visitors for an experience of danger or awe. This psychological priming can have tangible effects. Research in perception has shown that fear can physically alter our interpretation of the environment. For example, studies have found that people consistently overestimate vertical distances when looking down from a high place, and this bias correlates directly with their self reported fear of heights. This suggests that a feature named Devil's Peak may be perceived as objectively taller, steeper, and more dangerous than an identical, neutrally named landform, creating a self fulfilling prophecy of peril. A fascinating parallel can be drawn to the recently identified psychological phenomenon of alexithymia, the fear of using personal names in conversation, which is strongly linked to social anxiety and psychological distress. One could argue that the cultural form of alexithymia exists around these malevolent place names as well. The name itself becomes so freighted with negative connotations and folkloric dread that it induces a collective state of fear and avoidance, transforming a simple geographical feature into a locus of anxiety. The profusion of devil names across the American landscape cannot be separated from the history of colonial expansion. As historian James Loewen has argued, many of these names are not organic descriptions, but acts of cultural and psychological warfare. Christian European settlers, viewing indigenous religions as a form of devil worship, often deliberately applied strange or diabolical names to Native American sacred sites. This act of renaming served to desecrate the location, erase its original spiritual significance, and superimpose a new, fearful narrative. Two of the most prominent examples are Devil's Tower in Wyoming and Mount Diablo in California. Before American exploration, Devil's Tower was known to the Lakota and other Plains tribes by names like Mato Tepelia or Bear Lodge, a name directly tied to their sacred creation myths. The current name was bestowed by an expedition led by Colonel Richard Irving Dodge, who claimed the Indians called it Bad God's Tower, a translation that's highly suspect. It's widely believed to be either a deliberate mistranslation or an intentional change to supplant the indigenous worldview with a Christian one. Similarly, California's Mount Diablo was a sacred creation site for local tribes. Its current name stems from a misunderstanding by Spanish soldiers. After a group of Native Americans seemingly vanished into a thicket, the unnerved soldiers dubbed the spot Monte Diablo, or Thicket of the Devil. Later, American settlers mistook Monte, thicket, for Mount, and erroneously applied the name of a small spooky grove to the entire 3,849-foot sacred peak. Now, the act of applying a diabolical name to a landscape, however, is not a static historical event, but the initiation of a powerful feedback loop. The name itself generates fear. This fear, in turn, primes people to interpret any subsequent ambiguous or tragic event, a disappearance, a strange sound, an untimely death, as confirmation of the name's malevolent accuracy. An event like the 1965 drownings at Devil's Hole becomes easier to process through the supernatural lens provided by the name, the devil took them, than through the complex realities of hydrogeology, nitrogen narcosis, and pure human error. This tragedy then becomes a new, potent layer of folklore, permanently fused to the place's identity, and the story of the missing teens is now inseparable from Devil's Hole. This reinforced reputation for danger and mystery attracts a new generation of thrill seekers, like the teens themselves, who were possibly inspired by earlier reports of the Hole's strangeness, or those with darker fascinations, like cult leader Charles Manson, who became obsessed with the site. This increases the statistical probability of further incidents, which further cements the location's dark renown. In this cycle, the name is not merely a label, it's an active agent in the creation and perpetuation of a place's malevolent identity. The process by which a sacred place is overwritten with a profane name, and the dark consequences that seem to follow, is nowhere more evident than in the histories of California's Mount Diablo and Wyoming's Devil's Tower. These two iconic peaks serve as powerful case studies in toponymic erasure and the unsettling resonance between myth and modern tragedy. Now, long before it was named for the devil, Mount Diablo was the center of the universe. For the Ohlone and Miwok peoples, it was the point of creation, a sacred peak known by names like Tushtak, meaning at the dawn of time. Their myths tell of a great flood that covered the world, leaving only the summits of Mount Diablo and a neighboring peak as islands. From here, creator beings like Coyote and Eagle brought forth a new world and new people. The mountain was not a place of fear, but the very cradle of existence, a site of immense spiritual power. This sacred foundation was overwritten by a ghost story. In 1805, a Spanish military expedition pursued a group of Chupcan Indians who retreated into a dense willow thicket in what is now known as North Concord. As darkness fell, the soldiers, unnerved by strange lights and noises, decided not to follow. By morning, the natives were gone, having seemingly vanished. The frightened soldiers, steeped in a Catholic worldview where the devil was a real and active force, dubbed the area Monte Diablo, Thicket of the Devil. The name first appeared on a map in 1824, referring to an Indian village near the thicket. Through a crucial linguistic error, later American explorers mistook the Spanish monte for mount and transferred the name from the localized spooky thicket to the entire massive peak that dominated the horizon. Today, the theme of disappearance, born from that original legend, continues to haunt the mountain. While the California Department of Justice Missing Persons Database doesn't attribute specific cases directly to a supernatural cause on the mountain, the vast wilderness of Mount Diablo State Park is a place where people can and do become lost. We've covered cases there. The founding legend of inexplicable vanishing resonates in modern folklore of giant, ghostly figures seen near the summit and the discovery of an old plane crash site. The mountain retains its original mythic function as a place where people can and do disappear. Continuing, in the plains of northeastern Wyoming, another sacred tower, as I mentioned, tells a similar story. For numerous tribes, including the Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho, the stunning igneous intrusion we call Devil's Tower is known as Bear Lodge or Bear's Teepee. Its origin is explained in a powerful and recurring myth. In most versions, a group of children, often young girls or boys, are pursued by a ferocious giant bear. Praying for salvation, they are lifted into the sky as the rock beneath them miraculously rises from the earth. The bear, relentless, claws at the sides of the rising tower, leaving the deep vertical striations that mark its surface to this day. The tower is a place of refuge, a sanctuary from a monstrous threat. This sacred narrative was supplanted in the 1870s when Colonel Richard Irving Dodge's expedition named it Devil's Tower. The act remains controversial, viewed as a deliberate erasure of indigenous culture, and petitions to restore the original name continue to this day. The new name, however, brought with it a new kind of darkness. In 1965, the ancient myth of a monstrous threat to children found a horrific modern echo. 9-year-old Denise Clinton was kidnapped from a motel in Kansas City. For 2 years, her fate was unknown. Then, in 1967, 2 cowboys discovered her skeletal remains in a shallow grave in a ravine directly in the shadow of Devil's Tower. The case remains unsolved. For Denise's sister, Diana Clinton White, the landmark became a symbol of ultimate evil. Quote, "This place became the evil in my head and my heart," end quote, she recalled, decades later, upon visiting the site to place a memorial. The tower, once a mythic sanctuary for children, became the backdrop for a child's demise. Even the rational dangers of the tower seemed to follow a mythic pattern. Of the 7 climbing fatalities recorded at the site, most occurred not on the ascent, but during the rappel down, a perilous descent from a place that, in legend, was a refuge one could not easily leave. These tragedies associated with these places exhibit a disturbing resonance with their foundational myths or the etymology of their names. This is not a claim of direct causation, but a recognition of a powerful thematic parallel that gives these locations their deep, unsettling power. The landscape itself seems to function as a stage where ancient dramas are reenacted in modern, horrific forms. At Mount Diablo, whose name derives from a story of inexplicable vanishing, the enduring mystery is disappearance. At Devil's Tower, the Bear's Lodge, whose myths tell of a monstrous bear threatening children, the most infamous modern crime is the demise of a child left in its shadow. The stories we tell about a place, and the names we give it, appear to create a potent archetypical framework that shapes how we experience and interpret the tragedies that unfold there. The most potent landscapes of fear are often those defined by absence, voids, chasms, and holes that descend into an unseen underworld. These are places where people and things can disappear, not just from sight, but seemingly from the world itself. Devil's Hole in Nevada and Devil's Kettle in Minnesota are two of the most compelling examples, places where a hole in the earth creates an unfillable hole in a story. Now, the 1965 disappearance of Paul Gianconteri and David Rose remains the defining event at Devil's Hole. The sole survivor of the initial trio of divers, Bill Alter, gave a simple haunting account to reporters. Quote, "He got ahead of me and I lost him. I went to a depth of 175 feet and couldn't find him." End quote. The man who led the subsequent rescue attempt, veteran diver Jim Houts, provided a description that transformed the site from a geological feature into an otherworldly portal. "It's beautiful in there," Houts told reporters. "It goes straight down 160 feet, like a pipe, then opens into a room. We don't know what the next room is or if it's a room at all. It's like infinity." Houts' team found the divers' gear, a mask, a fin, a flashlight, on ledges as deep as 325 feet, but no bodies. He was convinced the hole was far deeper than anyone imagined, claiming once they dropped a weighted line over 900 feet without hitting the bottom. This central tragedy is woven into a much larger tapestry of strangeness. The local Timbusha Shoshone people have long warned of the hole's dangers, with folklore telling of water babies who snatch children from the surface, and a malevolent giant named So Apise who haunts the caves and devours victims. The hole is also the exclusive home of the Devil's Hole pupfish, one of the rarest and most endangered fish on Earth, a tiny, fragile life form that somehow survives on a single shallow rock shelf in this impossibly hostile environment. Adding to the anomaly, the water in this landlocked desert pool acts as a seismic bellwether, sloshing violently in response to major earthquakes thousands of miles away in places like Japan and Indonesia, proving its connection to a vast, unseen subterranean water system. This collection of high strangeness has attracted dark fascination, most notoriously from the aforementioned Charles Manson, who became obsessed with Devil's Hole, believing it to be a portal to an underground kingdom where his family could shelter from the apocalypse. Now, hundreds of miles to the northeast, in Minnesota's Judge C.R. Magny State Park, another diabolical hole has captured the public imagination. Here, the Brule River splits at a rock outcropping. One fork cascades down a 50-foot waterfall and continues on its way. The other, however, vanishes entirely into a large pothole known as the Devil's Kettle. For decades, the destination of this water was a complete mystery. Folk experiments became a local pastime, with visitors throwing in ping-pong balls, logs, dyes, and even, according to rumor, a car, none of which were ever seen again. In 2017, the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, or the DNR, announced they had solved the puzzle. Hydrologists measured the water's flow rate both above and below the falls and found the volumes to be nearly identical, 123 cubic feet per second above versus 121 below. This conclusion was that the water from the kettle must be rejoining the main river from an unseen point just downstream. As for the disappearing objects, scientists theorized they were simply pulverized by the unbelievably powerful system of recirculating currents inside the kettle. Yet, in the public mind, the mystery persists. Crucially, a planned confirmatory test using a fluorescent dye to pinpoint the resurgence point was never conducted. This has allowed skepticism to flourish. The resistance to a rational, if unconfirmed, explanation reveals a cultural preference for an enchanting mystery over mundane hydrology. A place name like Devil's Kettle seems to demand a more dramatic narrative, one that has been eagerly supplied by local media and fiction, including a murder mystery novel centered on the falls and its reputation for making things disappear. These holes in the landscape function as powerful psychological anchors for our deepest fears of the unknown and of oblivion. They are literal voids that cry out to be filled with narrative. When a person vanishes into such a place and their body is not recovered, it becomes a permanent, unbearable hole in the story of their life. There is no final chapter, no closure. The human mind, a natural storytelling machine, abhors this narrative vacuum and rushes to fill it. The name, Devil's Hole, and the physical nature of the place, a dark, seemingly bottomless abyss, provide the raw materials for a new, more mythic narrative. The story ceases to be about a tragic diving accident and becomes one of a person being taken by the abyss or having entered infinity. This narrative, while terrifying for sure, is more psychologically resonant than the painful, unresolved truth. It transforms a random tragedy into an event of cosmic significance, confirming the malevolent power of the place. The hole in the ground becomes a portal to another world, and the unfortunate missing person becomes a permanent, chilling resident of the myth. Now, the geography of fear extends beyond diabolical names to encompass places branded by historical trauma, particularly those also associated with witches and ghosts. These names act as permanent markers on the landscape, memorials to persecution and tragedy that continue to shape a location's identity and influence how new events are perceived. Now, no place in America is more defined by this phenomenon than Salem, Massachusetts, not too far from where I'm at right now. The city's entire modern identity is built upon the infamous witch trials of 1692, during which 20 people were executed for alleged witchcraft. Today, Salem has processed and capitalized on this dark history, transforming it into a tourist destination filled with witch museums, pagan and Wiccan shops, and guided tours that separate witchcraft myths from reality. The name Salem is now synonymous with witch. This is a fate that surrounding towns actively tried to avoid. The original epicenter of the hysteria, Salem Village, was officially renamed Danvers in 1752 in a clear attempt to escape the stigma, an effort that ultimately failed as the history was too powerful to be erased by a simple name change. The toponymy of persecution is not unique to Salem. Across the United Kingdom, names like Witch Crags, Witch Now, a Roman signal station, and the Witch's Stone in Scotland, or even Cackle Street in East Sussex, England, serve as informal memorials marking sites of folk belief, accusation, or execution. These names function as a form of collective memory, ensuring that the history of persecution remains embedded in the very soil. And then the belief in ghosts is a universal human experience. And our maps are dotted with the names of places where spirits are said to linger. From the S-21 prison in Cambodia, haunted by victims of genocide, to the Tower of London and Edinburgh Castle, sites of centuries of violence, the idea that intense emotional events can leave a spiritual residue is a global phenomenon. Paranormal theory offers a framework for this belief with the stone tape theory. This hypothesis suggests that building materials, particularly those containing quartz or significant amounts of water even, can act like a recording medium, absorbing the energy of traumatic or emotionally charged events and replaying them under certain atmospheric or psychological conditions. This provides a quasi-scientific metaphor for a place possessing a memory. This concept is most clearly articulated in the idea of residual hauntings, which are believed to be the most common type of paranormal activity. Unlike intelligent hauntings, a residual haunting is a non-conscious loop of a past event, like an old film loop playing over and over and over. The classic reports of apparitions seen walking down the same hallway, appearing in the same window, or sounds of footsteps repeating the same path are all characteristics of residual hauntings. Some theorists have connected this to a controversial idea of water memory, suggesting that water molecules within a structure's materials could hold an imprint of the past, which is then replayed. So, a name like Witch Hill or Ghost Road does more than simply denote a location. It functions as a powerful mnemonic trigger for a community's collective trauma. It effectively keeps the stone tape of a historical tragedy perpetually cued for playback. The name itself becomes the primary carrier of the story, a permanent public marker of the original event. When a new, unsettling incident occurs in such a place, for instance, a hiker goes missing on a place named Witch Hill, it's rarely perceived as a new, isolated event. Instead, the community's response is conditioned by the name. The disappearance is immediately framed by the original trauma, interpreted not as a simple accident, but as a replay or an echo of the past. The narrative becomes which hill claimed another one. In this way, the name acts as a cultural and psychological trigger, ensuring that the original trauma is never fully laid to rest, as instead projected onto any new tragedy, creating a landscape where the past is never truly past. Now, while these psychological and folkloric explanations do provide compelling frameworks, they don't account for the sheer breadth and recurring nature of the strangeness reported at some of these locations. For a more radical but comprehensive model, one can turn to the work of pioneering paranormal researcher John Keel. Keel's theories offer a way to synthesize the disparate phenomena, disappearances, creature sightings, strange lights, and malevolent place names, into a single unified theory of anomalous geography known as the window area hypothesis. Now, Keel's central thesis is the existence of window areas, as he calls them, specific geographical locations that experience an unusually high concentration of diverse and recurring anomalous phenomena. Keel argued that these phenomena are not isolated events, but are all manifestations of a single, intelligent, and often deceptive source. He dismissed the simplistic extraterrestrial hypothesis, instead proposing the existence of ultra-terrestrials or other intelligences, or OINTS, as he called them, beings that coexist with humanity but operate on a different frequency or in a parallel space-time continuum. Heady stuff here, able to cross over into our reality at will. The manifestations of this intelligence are culturally specific, appearing as fairies and demons in one era, mystery airships in another, and UFOs or creatures like the Mothman in our own time. Crucially, Keel provided a testable physical component to his theory, claiming that these windows often correlate with areas of significant magnetic deviation or geological faults. He noted that every state in the United States has from 2 to 10 windows, and that many of these hotspots, like Wanacue, New Jersey, or Ravenna, Ohio, are centered directly over known magnetic anomalies that can be identified on geological survey maps. The primary locations examined in this video do fit the window area profile remarkably well. Both Devil's Tower and Mount Diablo are prominent geological intrusions, volcanic in origin, making them plausible sites for magnetic anomalies. Both are ancient sacred sites with deep mythologies invoking powerful non-human entities, the Great Bear and Creator spirits, which does align with Keel's model of the phenomenon adapting its appearance to the local culture's belief system. Devil's Hole, with its unique geothermal properties, its direct link to a vast, deep aquifer, and its uncanny sensitivity to distant seismic events, is a prime candidate for a geological and paranormal anomaly. The clustering of high strangeness at the site, the inexplicable disappearances, the singular pupfish, the ancient myths of water monsters, and the modern horror of the Manson connection, is the hallmark of a Keelian window. From this Fordian perspective, the application of diabolical place names can be reinterpreted not as mere projection of settler fear, but as a form of folk diagnosis. It represents a pre-scientific culture's attempt to label and understand a genuine, recurring, and often frightening environmental anomaly. The devil, diablo, or witch in the name is a folk entomological effort to describe the tangible experience of a window area. Indigenous cultures, with their deep holistic connection to the land, perceive this same anomalous energy. Now, they didn't necessarily frame it as evil, but as powerful and sacred, incorporating it into their cosmologies as a place of creation or a site for vision quest. Later, colonial settlers encountered the same unsettling phenomena, namely strange lights, odd sounds, a palpable sense of presence, but lacked the cultural framework to interpret it as sacred. Drawing from their Christian-centric worldview, they interpreted the inexplicable energy as demonic. In this model, the name is not the source of the fear. The name is the result of a direct encounter with a genuinely strange place. The folklore, the disappearances, and the name itself are all symptoms of the same underlying location-based cause. The name becomes a historical record of human interaction with the anomaly. The unsettling relationship between malevolent place names and human disappearances defies any single, simple explanation. Instead, these locations exist at the confluence of several powerful interpretive models. The psychological and folkloric model suggests that ominous names are cultural projections that create a self-perpetuating cycle of fear, where the name itself primes people for tragedy. The historical trauma model posits that these names are memorials to past atrocities, and new tragedies are inevitably viewed as echoes of the original event, keeping the stone tape of memory playing on a loop. And finally, the Fortean model proposes a radical alternative, that these names are a form of folk diagnosis for genuinely anomalous zones or windows, where strange phenomena, including disappearances, cluster for reasons tied to the physical environment that we do not yet understand. The power of places like Devil's Hole, Devil's Tower, and Mount Diablo lies precisely in their liminality. There are thresholds between the known and the unknown, between science and myth, between recorded history and the eternal present of folklore. There are places where all these explanatory frameworks seem to apply simultaneously, creating a reality that is layered, complex, and deeply unsettling. The act of disappearance is the ultimate expression of this liminality. A disappearance is the one event that most profoundly resists explanation and closure, forcing us to confront a void in our understanding. A person who vanishes at Devil's Hole or in the shadow of Devil's Tower is not merely missing. Instead, they have been absorbed into the landscape's mythology, with their story becoming a new, terrifying verse in an ancient song. Whether the devil resides in the geology of the land, in the traumatic memory of a culture, or in what author John Keel called the dark corners of our mind, the places that bear his name serve as essential, frightening landmarks on our cultural map. They chart the frontiers of our knowledge and remind us that for all our science and reason, there are still places on Earth where the story ends with a question mark and where people can walk over a threshold and simply be gone. Hello, friends. Steve Stockton here with you. Welcome to our latest video. In this episode, we're going to be talking about missing persons in the state of Maine. Join me. Let's walk and see. Now, Maine, with its rugged coastline, dense forest, and picturesque towns, evokes a sense of tranquility and mystery. But beneath this idyllic facade lies a darker reality. A number of people had vanished without a trace within the state's borders. Their disappearances have left behind a trail of unanswered questions, shattered families, and a lingering sense of unease. In this video, we delve into some of Maine's most baffling missing person cases, exploring the circumstances surrounding their disappearances and the ongoing efforts to find them. Since 1964, the Maine State Police have kept a record of 35 individuals who have vanished without a trace. Every name on this list represents someone whose sudden disappearance has left a void in the hearts of their loved ones and the communities they were a part of. These cases remain open and unsolved, but the families and friends of the missing still hold hope for answers. From young children to adults, each person in this video has their own unique story, and the circumstances surrounding their disappearances vary greatly. While some cases have faded from public memory over the years, others still receive periodic attention. But no matter how much time has passed, the Maine State Police remain dedicated to finding closure for these families and bringing resolution to these heartbreaking mysteries. A top priority of the Maine State Police is locating these missing individuals and providing their loved ones with closure. If you have any information, no matter how small or insignificant it may seem on these cases, please contact the police immediately. This list is arranged alphabetically, and all information is courtesy of the Maine State Police. Jeremy Alex, missing since 2004. Jeremy Alex went missing on April 30th, 2004, and was last seen running along a rural road in Newport, Maine. He was delusional at the time and has not been seen or heard from since. A reward is being offered for information on his whereabouts. The Maine State Police are actively searching for him and ask for the public's help. Anyone with any information should contact them immediately at the Major Crimes Unit in Augusta, Maine. Telephone number 207-624-7143. Next, we have Colin J. Array, missing since 2017. Colin was last seen in January 2017 when he was driven to the Brewer Auditorium by his stepfather. He was starting a new job in Bangor but has not contacted his family or friends since. His social media and phone are inactive. Colin does not have a driver's license and has a birthmark over his eye described as a strawberry. If you have any information on Colin, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit in Bangor at 207-973-3750. Next, Ludger Belanger, missing since 1975. At 9 a.m. on November 25, 1975, Ludger Belanger was driven to Route 105 in Washington by his brother and wife for a hunting trip. He had a hunting rifle, caliber .30-30 with him. Before he left, he told his wife that he would return home in about an hour. However, he never came back. After investigating the situation, it was determined that Ludger had successfully shot a deer and dragged it to the road before being picked up by someone driving a motor vehicle. If you have any information about Ludger, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit in Augusta at 207-624-7143. Next, Joseph Bickrest, missing since 1976. Joseph Bickrest, once a resident of Pennsylvania, made his home in Greenville, Maine, as an attorney. However, in 1976, he vanished without a trace, along with his trusty Jeep. Following his disappearance, authorities discovered that a credit card registered under his name was used in Philadelphia just 2 days later. Despite extensive efforts to locate him and his vehicle, no sign of either has ever been found. Speculation about his fate continues to circulate, with some claiming he may have been murdered. According to unverified reports, his Jeep may be hidden in one of the local quarries in Greenville, leading to multiple searches over the years. If you have any information on Joseph, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit in Bangor at 207-973-3750. Next, we have George Boardman, missing since 2000. On November 6, 2000, Boardman's abandoned vehicle, a brown 1990 Honda Accord with Maine registration plate 3403JF, was found behind the Searsmont Municipal Parking Lot in Searsmont, Maine. Boardman resided at 392 Whitney Street in Bingham, Maine, and had been reported missing by his roommates on October 5, 2000. Despite multiple leads and interviews over the years, Boardman has never been located, and the case remains unsolved. If you have any information, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit in Augusta at 207-624-7143. Next up, Russell Burnett, missing since 2017. On February 23, 2017, the Hancock County Sheriff's Department received a report of a missing person, Russell Burnett, age 47. According to witnesses, he was last seen 2 days prior in the area near his home at 323 Eastbrook Road in Franklin, Maine. He was on foot and had his dog with him. An extensive search has been conducted on the property and residence, but no results. If anyone has any information about Burnett's possible location, please contact the Maine State Police immediately, Major Crimes Unit South in Gray, Maine, at 207-624-7076. Next, we have Guy Carmel, missing since 2017. In March of 2017, Guy Carmel, age 66, resided at 75 Towers Road in Greenbush, Maine, before he vanished. 6 months later, the Penobscot County Sheriff's Office received a missing persons report for him. Mr. Carmel has gray hair, brown eyes, and wears glasses. He stands about 5 foot 9 inches tall and weighs around 180 pounds. The circumstances surrounding his disappearance are deemed suspicious. If you have any information on the whereabouts of Guy Carmel, please reach out to the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit North in Bangor, Maine, 207-973-3750. Now we have Douglas Chapman, missing since 1971. At around 10:30 a.m. on June 2, 1971, the mother of 3-year-old Douglas Chapman called to report him missing. She said that she last saw him playing near a sand pile about 25 yards away from their home while she was talking on the phone and his father was at work. If you have any information about little Douglas, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit South in Gray, Maine, 207-657-3030. Next, Roger Day, missing since 1973. On October 4, 1973, Roger Day, who was born November 4, 1958, was reported missing by his father. According to witnesses, he was last seen on October 3, 1973 in Porter, Maine, headed to the Freiburg Fair for the day. If you have any information regarding Roger's whereabouts, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit South in Gray, Maine, at 207-657-3030. Next, Robert Desmond, missing since 1964. 11-year-old Robert Desmond disappeared from his family home in Kennebunk in August of 1964. His parents did not file a missing person report, and despite efforts to investigate, he has never been found. If you have any information concerning Robert or his disappearance, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit South in Gray, Maine, at 207-624-7076. Next, Diana Estey, missing since 2016. Diana Estey, age 71, went missing from her residence located at 1105 Medford Center Road in Medford, Maine, on or about November 1, 2016. An exhaustive search of the residence and surrounding property was conducted, however, nothing resulted. Anyone with any information regarding Diana Estey's possible whereabouts is encouraged to please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit South at 207-624-7076. Next, William Garlick, missing since 1982. According to the Maine State Police, on September 13, 1982, William Garlick and John Joyce left Worcester, Massachusetts, with plans to collect a $22,000 debt in Alton, Maine. The pair were in a black 1980 Corvette with Massachusetts plates 512 EVZ. The following day, the car was discovered in the Bangor Mall parking lot, but it had been tampered with. The ignition and interior were damaged, and a wallet belonging to William Garlick was found on the seat. As of now, neither John Joyce nor William Garlick have been seen after their departure from Worcester. If you have any information regarding this pair, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit North in Bangor at 207-973-3750. Next, Jesse O. Hoover, missing since 1983. On June 11, 1983, Jesse Hoover's sister reported her missing. Hoover had traveled from Texas to Maine to hike the Appalachian Trail. She'd been last seen on May 20, 1983, at the Baxter State Park headquarters. Hoover was an epileptic and did not have any specialized equipment or knowledge for hiking. At the time she went missing, Hoover was 54 years old, stood 5 feet 10 inches tall, and weighed 240 pounds. She was dressed in blue jeans, a blue shirt, a blue windbreaker, and carried a blue knapsack with her. If you have any information regarding Jesse's disappearance, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit North in Bangor at 207-973-3750. Next, Roderick Hotham, missing since 1992. According to the Maine State Police, Rod Hotham was residing in Vesey when he disappeared in September of 1992. He was a certified public accountant and was formally charged with federal crimes in November of that same year. If you have any information regarding Roderick Hotham's disappearance, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit North in Bangor at 207-973-3750. And now, Michelle Jakatis, missing since 1987. On January 16, 1987, authorities in Massachusetts received a report that Michelle Jakatis had gone missing. The last confirmed sighting of her was on December 31, 1986, in Dixfield, Maine. If you have any information regarding Michelle, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit South in Gray, Maine at 207-657-3030. Next, Faye Johnson, missing since 2012. Faye Johnson was last spotted on March 12, 2012, in the Lewiston, Auburn, Maine region, and she also has connections to Bethel. Due to her ongoing medical and mental health issues, Faye urgently requires her prescribed medications. She also wears a medical alert necklace indicating she has a pacemaker. If you have any information on Faye Johnson, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crime Unit South in Gray, Maine at 207-657-3030. Next up, Kay Johnson, missing since 1986. Kay Myers Johnson, born on May 20th, 1906, was 80 years old when she disappeared from her residence in Monson. Her disappearance occurred sometime between noon on August 23, 1986, and 4 p.m. on August 24, 1986. Ms. Johnson had trouble walking and her vision was impaired. Despite the efforts of the police, no sign of her could be found during the search. If you have any information about the disappearance of Kay Myers Johnson, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit North in Bangor at 207-973-3750. Next, Sebastian Kelly, missing since 2017. On July 17, 2017, Sebastian Kelly went missing in Westbrook, Maine. He was a transient, having no permanent residence, and had been attacked prior to his disappearance. Descriptions of him state that he is a light-skinned African-American male, standing at 5 foot 11 inches tall and weighing about 190 pounds. His hair is black and his eyes are brown. On his neck, he has a tattoo that reads Willow Grace. Despite ongoing investigations, his whereabouts remain unknown. If you have any information on Sebastian Kelly, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit South in Gray, Maine at 207-624-7076. Next, Stanley Kennard, missing since 1987. In 1987, Stanley Kennard left his home in Madison and took a temporary job in southern Maine. His mother contacted the Madison Police Department after not hearing from him for over a year. The state police also joined the investigation in 1997 to help find Stanley. If you have any information regarding Stanley Kennard, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit Central in Augusta, Maine, telephone 207-624-7143. Next, Marilyn Leon, missing since 2002. According to records, Marilyn Leon resided with her spouse in the town of Eastport, Maine. A family member reported seeing her in the summer of 2002. However, after thorough investigation, no other known addresses or evidence of her whereabouts have been found. If you know the whereabouts of Marilyn Leon or any information regarding her disappearance, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit North in Bangor at 207-973-3750. Next up, Philip Letarte, missing since 1986. Philip Letarte, 65 years old, departed from Robert Erickson's residence on Tibbetts Road in Woodland, Maine, at approximately 3 p.m. on June 2, 1986. He told Erickson he was walking to Gary's Exxon in New Sweden, Maine, to purchase cigarettes, a distance of about 3.5 miles. On June 3rd, a man resembling Letarte was spotted standing on Colby Road. Since then, there have been no sightings of Philip Letarte. If you have any information, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit North in Bangor at 207-973-3750. Next, Michael Medore, missing since 1996. The town of Milo, Maine, hasn't seen Michael Medore since April 6, 1996. Despite extensive investigations, no evidence has been found to suggest that he may be residing at another address or location. If you have any information regarding Michael Medore's current whereabouts or disappearance, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit North in Bangor at 207-973-3750. Next, Shirley Moon Atwood, missing since 2006. In the summer of 2006, Shirley Moon Atwood resided with her spouse, Shannon Atwood, at 534 Heartland Road in Canaan, Maine. That same month, a missing person investigation was launched by the state police to determine the whereabouts of Cheryl Murdoch, who had recently moved in with Shannon Atwood at the same address. Tragically, Cheryl's body was discovered in August of 2006. As the investigation continued, efforts were made to find Shirley Moon Atwood. Ultimately, Shannon Atwood was charged and tried for both murders, However, prior to the trial proceedings, the murder charge against Shirley was dropped without prejudice. Although Shannon Atwood was convicted for Cheryl's murder, extensive searches have yet to uncover any trace of Shirley Moon Atwood. If you have any information regarding the whereabouts or disappearance of Shirley Moon Atwood, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit Central in Augusta, Maine at 207-624-7143. And now, Kimberly Moreau, missing since 1986. Kimberly Moreau, who was 17 at the time, disappeared on May 9, 1986, from Jay, Maine, where she had been seen with someone she had met earlier that day. Despite extensive searches in the surrounding area, she has not been found, and there are suspicions of foul play involved. If you have any information regarding Kimberly Moreau, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit South in Gray, Maine at 207-657-3030. Next, Kurt Newton, missing since 1975. On August 31, 1975, 4-year-old Kurt Newton went missing from a campground in Chain of Ponds, Maine, located near the Canadian border in northern Franklin County. He had been on a camping trip with his family at the time. Despite a thorough search by both civilians and law enforcement, he was never located. If you have information on Kurt or his current whereabouts, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit South in Gray, Maine at 207-657-3030. And now, Virginia Pictou Noyes, missing since 1993. On April 27, 1993, Virginia Pictou Noyes and her husband, Larry Noyes, accompanied by 2 others, traveled to Bangor. After consuming a large amount of alcohol, Larry physically assaulted Virginia. He was arrested for domestic assault, and Virginia was taken to EMMC for treatment. Despite repeatedly telling the police that she needed to get back home to her 5 children in Easton, Virginia left the hospital before completing her checkup. Larry eventually posted bail and was released. It is believed that Virginia received a ride to a truck stop in Holton, as witnesses reported seeing her using the telephone there. The last confirmed sighting of her was walking north through the parking lot of the truck stop. If you have any information regarding Virginia's disappearance, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit North in Bangor at 207-973-3750. Next up, Isla Reynolds, missing since 2011. On December 17, 2011, Justin DiPietro reported his daughter, Isla Reynolds, date of birth 4/4/2010, missing from their Violet Avenue residence. After thorough investigation, authorities have eliminated any chance of Isla leaving the house of her own or being taken by someone. However, during their search, blood belonging to Isla was found in the basement of her home, and the 3 adults present at the time are not being fully cooperative with their information. Authorities strongly suspect that Isla may be deceased. If you have any information on Isla Reynolds, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit Central in Augusta, Maine, 207-624-7143. Next, Bernard Bunny Ross. Fort Kent, Maine resident Bernard Bunny Ross went missing on May 12, 1977, after being suspected of stealing a vehicle in Presque Isle. The last confirmed sighting of him was on the Realty Road near the Ashland Portage town line. Despite extensive searches, he was never found. If you have information regarding Bernard Bunny Ross, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit North in Bangor at 207-973-3750. Now we have Pauline Rourke, missing since 1976. On December 15, 1976, Pauline Rourke was reported as missing. She shared a mobile home with Albert P. Cochran, and her daughter was the last person to see her. According to her daughter, she overheard an argument between Rourke and Cochran on the night before Rourke went missing. She was supposed to be interviewed by state police investigators as a potential witness in the Janet Baxter homicide case against Cochran. Cochran was found guilty of Baxter's murder in 1998, but claims he had no involvement in Pauline Rourke's disappearance. To this day, no trace of Rourke has been found. If you have any information concerning the disappearance of Pauline Rourke, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit Central in Augusta, Maine at 207-624-7143. Next, Aten Shah. Originally from Indonesia, Aten had been living in Washburn, Maine with her family since early 2020. In late 2021, she was residing with her husband and 4 children. However, near the end of that same year, Aten was reported missing to the Washburn Police Department. The Maine State Police joined the investigation in early 2023, but were unable to uncover any new addresses or evidence of her whereabouts outside of Washburn. If you have any information regarding Aten Shah, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit North in Halton, Maine at 207-532-5400. Next, Harold Simpson, missing since 1986. On August 16, 1986, 28-year-old Harold Simpson disappeared from the town of Livermore Falls. He is described as being approximately 5 foot 9 inches tall and weighing around 190 pounds. He has red hair and green eyes. If you have any information regarding Harold Simpson, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit South in Gray, Maine at 207-624-7076. Next, Stephen Thompson, missing since 1986. Stephen Thompson was employed as a manager at Schwann's in Oakland, Maine. On the morning of June 2, 1986, he arrived at work with his wife Beverly dropping him off. His co-workers saw him working that morning, but after that, they were unable to reach or find him. The Oakland Police Department was called in to investigate, and then in 1993, the Maine State Police also joined the investigation. If you have any information regarding the disappearance or whereabouts of Stephen Thompson, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit Central in Augusta, Maine, 207-624-7143. And lastly, Angelo Angel Torres, missing since 1999. Angel, who also sometimes went by the name of Tony, was officially reported as missing by his family on May 24, 1999. He was last seen in the Saco, Bedford, OOB area, and authorities suspect foul play in his disappearance. On what would have been Angel's 38th birthday, April 1, 2016, the Torres family received a generous donation that doubled the reward for information of his whereabouts from $5,000 to $10,000. As of Saturday, May 21, 2016, the 17th anniversary of Angel's disappearance, the reward has been further increased to $15,000. If you have any information regarding the disappearance or whereabouts of Angel Torres, please contact the Maine State Police Major Crimes Unit South in Gray, Maine at 207-657-3030. Do you possess any information regarding the individuals I've talked about? Even the tiniest clue could make a significant impact in the search. According to the Maine State Police official website, the goal of the major crime units are to locate these missing individuals and pursue justice against those who caused their disappearance or death through criminal means. The Maine State Police often utilize their Facebook page to bring attention to missing person cases, hoping to gather any helpful information or leads from the public. In some cases, a reward has been offered for any valuable information that could help find the missing person, uncover their remains, or identify those involved in the disappearance. If you have any knowledge that could assist in locating these individuals, please reach out to the Maine State Police at the numbers provided. These missing person cases in Maine represent a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of hope. While the search for answers continues, the families and friends of those who have vanished hold on to the belief that they will one day be reunited with their loved ones. As we've explored these cases, we're left with a profound sense of empathy for the families and a renewed appreciation for the tireless efforts of those who work to bring closure to these unsolved mysteries. Now, the Angeles National Forest, a sprawling expanse of over 700,000 acres, serves as a rugged crown to the Los Angeles basin. It's often affectionately referred to as LA's backyard playground, a testament to its role as a vital recreational escape for millions living in the adjacent metropolis. Its accessible trails, soaring peaks, and shaded canyons offer a quick and profound immersion into the wild. Yet this idyllic image belies a more formidable truth. The forest is a place of rugged terrain and harsh vegetation. It's a genuine wilderness where the line between recreation and peril is perilously thin. For decades, its canyons have echoed with stories of those who ventured in and did not return, making it a landscape with a long and often tragic memory. On June 22nd, 2025, this unforgiving playground became the setting for another baffling disappearance. Monica Reza, a 60-year-old hiker, vanished from the well-trodden trails near Mount Waterman. Her case triggered a massive multi-agency search operation, drew intense public scrutiny, and ultimately settled into the quiet, uncertain status of an open and ongoing investigation. The disappearance of an experienced hiker in good health and in familiar territory from the midst of her own hiking party presents a profound mystery. It's a case that not only highlights the inherent dangers of the wilderness, but also serves as a modern parable about the limits of technology, the complexities of public involvement in official investigations, and the enduring power of the wild to defy human understanding. In this video, we're going to provide an exhaustive examination of the Monica Reza case, from her last known movements to the somber conclusion of the initial search, placing her story within the broader, darker context of the many who have been lost in the San Gabriel Mountains. Join me. Let's walk and see. Now, the narrative of any missing person case begins with the last confirmed moments of their presence. In the case of Monica Reza, these moments are both deceptively simple and maddeningly ambiguous. Reconstructing the timeline of June 22nd, 2025, reveals a standard Sunday morning hike, then inexplicably deviated into a lasting mystery, creating an information vacuum that was almost immediately filled with questions, speculation, and a community's desperate search for answers. Monica Reza was not a novice lost in an alien environment. The 60-year-old Los Angeles County resident was, by all official accounts, an experienced and well-prepared hiker. Described as a petite woman, standing 4 foot 11 inches tall and weighing approximately 101 pounds, she had gray hair and brown eyes and was known to be in good shape. Sergeant John Gilbert of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, the LASD, Crescenta Valley Station, confirmed this, stating that Reza and her friends, quote, went out weekly to hike in the area, end quote. This familiarity with the terrain and regular hiking schedule makes her disappearance all the more perplexing. Unlike many cases that involve ill-prepared or inexperienced individuals, Reza's profile suggests she possessed the skills and knowledge to navigate the challenges of the San Gabriel Mountains. She had no known health conditions that would have contributed to her disappearance, further deepening the mystery. The day began as a routine outing. Monica Reza was hiking with two companions in the popular Mount Waterman area of the Angeles National Forest. The last confirmed sighting of her occurred at approximately 9:10 a.m. near the 6,000-foot gate on Angeles Crest Highway, a location also identified as 60,001 Trailhead Avenue. The critical event, as reported by the authorities, involved the separation of the group. According to the Crescenta Valley Weekly, the trio split up when one of the hikers went ahead to retrieve their car, leaving Monica and the third hiker to continue together. It was at this point that the narrative fractures. Reza became separated from her remaining companion. The most crucial and enigmatic detail provided by officials is that she, quote, left the trail for an unknown reason near the ridgeline between the elevations of 7,000 and 8,000 feet, end quote. This single action, or inaction, is the pivot upon which the entire case turns. There was no report of a fall, an argument, or a planned rendezvous point. One moment she was there, and the next she was gone. A comment on a social media post from someone claiming to be a neighbor later added a layer of community disbelief. Quoting here, how this could happen in a group setting is beyond me. Her family and the neighborhood is devastated. In the immediate aftermath, the flow of information was inconsistent, a common feature of fast-moving crises, but one that fueled public confusion. An early discrepancy emerged regarding Reza's clothing. While most official reports and news outlets eventually settled on a consistent description, a red, long-sleeved shirt green hiking pants, and hiking shoes. Some initial reports were less specific, mentioning only a long sleeve shirt. This minor confusion underscored a larger problem: the lack of a clear, detailed public narrative from her companions or the authorities about the precise circumstances of her disappearance. The information void was quickly filled by burgeoning public investigation on social media platforms, particularly Reddit. Members of the Southern California hiking community, many of whom were familiar with the trail and standard hiking practices, began asking pointed and logical questions that highlighted the narrative's apparent gaps. Their queries went straight to the heart of the matter. What was the timeline for reporting her missing? How long was the delay between her separation and the call to law enforcement? What were the identities of her companions? Were they experienced hikers as well? Why did the group separate in the first place? A practice often discouraged among hiking groups. One online commenter claimed the group was, quote, jogging quickly on the trail, end quote, while another Reddit user noted that a Facebook group dedicated to the search mentioned they were running back from the summit. This led to questions about why they were running and whether Reza was appropriately dressed for trail running. And perhaps most critically, users in the Facebook group and on Reddit questioned why an experienced hiker like Reza was reportedly without a water supply. These questions were not born of idle gossip, but of a logical attempt to reconcile the official story with the established norms of hiking culture. For experienced hikers, the idea of a companion simply vanishing without a trace and the lack of basic supplies like water seemed incongruous. The ambiguity surrounding the separation created a space for skepticism and alternative theories to quickly grow, turning a personal tragedy into a very public puzzle. The response to Monica Reza's disappearance was immediate, massive, and a testament to the highly organized and collaborative nature of Southern California's search and rescue community. Yet, the sheer scale of the operation also served to highlight the immense difficulty of its task. For 8 days, a small army of professionals and volunteers threw every available resource at the mountain, only to be met with a stubborn and unyielding silence. The operational aid for the search fell to the LASD's Crescenta Valley Station and its affiliated volunteer unit, the Montrose Search and Rescue SAR team. Founded in 1947, Montrose SAR is one of the most active volunteer rescue teams in both the county and the state, responding to an average of 95 to 135 calls annually and possessing deep institutional knowledge of the treacherous local terrain. However, the complexity of the search quickly necessitated a far broader coalition. What followed was a remarkable mobilization of mutual aid, drawing in specialized teams from across the lower half of California. The list of participating agencies underscores the gravity with which the case was treated. Altadena Mountain Rescue, Antelope Valley SAR, Sierra Madre Search and Rescue, San Dimas Mountain Rescue, and Malibu SAR from within Los Angeles County were joined by teams from San Diego, Ventura, Riverside, Orange, San Bernardino, Kern, and even Tulare counties. This statewide response transformed the area around Mount Waterman into a bustling command center, a coordinated assault on the wilderness. Acting Captain Ryan A. Vienna of the Crescenta Valley Station publicly expressed his gratitude for this extensive support, acknowledging the many search and rescue teams involved and thanking federal partners for their continued assistance. The search for Monica Reza was a showcase of modern SAR methodology, combining traditional boots-on-the-ground searching with a sophisticated suite of technology. From the air, the LASD's Air Rescue 5 helicopter became a constant presence, scouring the canyons and ridges. It was supported by fixed-wing aircraft, equipped with high-resolution imaging and unmanned aerial system, drones, all aimed at spotting any sign of Reza from above. On the ground, searchers employed a variety of tactics. In a statement, the Montrose SAR team confirmed the comprehensive nature of their efforts. Quote, "We also want to assure the public that we are throwing every possible resource at this incident. To date, we have logged hundreds of search hours on the ground and in the air. Unmanned aerial systems, tracking canines, and specialized technology have all been used." End quote. This technological approach included working with experts to analyze cell phone forensic data to assist in identifying Monica's last known movements, a critical tool in establishing a more precise search area. The goal, as stated in a later debrief from Captain Vienna, was to leave, quote, nearly no available resource untapped. Despite the overwhelming force of manpower and technology, the search teams were confronted by a formidable adversary, the mountain itself. The terrain where Reza was last seen is described as highly technical, exceptionally rugged, and steep, with punishing elevations that tested the limits of the searchers. The environment actively resisted the search, dictated and often defeating the tactics deployed. A telling example of this resistance was the use of canine units. According to a volunteer who was on the ground, search dogs were utilized on the first day, but were quickly deemed ineffective due to the harshness of the terrain and were not used on the trails thereafter. This is a significant detail, as it illustrates conditions so severe that one of the most reliable tools in the SAR arsenal was rendered useless. Sergeant Gilbert confirmed that the initial efforts focused on the established trails, where searchers looked for residue or any sign of distress, such as discarded equipment or signs of an injury. When these grid searches yielded nothing, the operation was forced to move into the far more dangerous off-trail backcountry. This shift dramatically increased the risk to the searchers themselves and exponentially expanded the search area into a chaotic landscape of steep ravines, dense chaparral, and rocky outcrops. The failure of such a massive, well equipped, and expertly coordinated operation to find any trace of Monica Reza after 8 days is a humbling testament to the fact that even in the 21st century, the wilderness can easily conceal its secrets from even the most determined human efforts. In parallel with the official, uniformed search for Monica Reza, a second, civilian led effort rapidly took shape in the digital realm. Fueled by social media and a passionate local hiking community, this grassroots response became a powerful force for raising awareness. However, it also generated significant friction with law enforcement, creating a dynamic that has become characteristic of missing persons cases in the modern era. This parallel investigation revealed a fundamental tension between the public's desire for transparency and immediate action, and the official need for procedural control and investigative discipline. Within hours and days of Reza's disappearance, the Southern California hiking community mobilized online. Posts on popular forums like Reddit's r/social hiking and r/hiking served as digital town squares, issuing a call to action. One post implored users to, quote, join hiking search parties and volunteer on the ground, and to share Monica's search campaigns and news stories to increase visibility, end quote. The response was immediate. A Facebook group titled Help Find Missing Hiker Monica Reza was created, quickly becoming a central hub for coordinating updates, sharing information, and organizing volunteer efforts. A meetup page was also established seeking expert hikers, mountaineers, and operations volunteers to establish a base camp and provide logistical support, demonstrating a sophisticated level of self organization among the civilian volunteers. These online spaces quickly evolved beyond simple coordination hubs into active, crowdsourced investigation forums. With official information limited to press releases, users began to piece together clues, analyze inconsistencies, and formulate theories. The Reddit threads, in particular, became a repository of pointed questions directed at the silent official narrative. As previously stated, users with deep knowledge of hiking protocol questioned the separation of the group, the alleged lack of water, and reports that the hikers may have been running. This public discourse was not merely speculative, it was an attempt to apply logic to a situation that seemed to defy it. The community's disbelief was palpable in comments like that of a purported neighbor who was devastated and found it incomprehensible that someone could disappear from a group setting. This sentiment was echoed by many online who expressed shock that an experienced hiker could vanish so completely, so close to her companions. The digital search party was not just looking for Monica Reza, It was also searching for an explanation that made sense. This surge of public participation, while well intentioned, inevitably clashed with the protocols of the official investigation. Law enforcement's primary concerns in such situations are the preservation of evidence and the safety of the public. On the sixth day of the search, the Crescenta Valley Sheriff's Station issued a direct plea on its Facebook page, asking the public to avoid the search area. The post explained the rationale clearly, quoting here, uncoordinated foot traffic can unintentionally interfere with tracking evidence, delay progress, or even create new emergencies. Captain Vienna later reiterated this concern, noting that the area was highly technical and difficult for inexperienced hikers. This directive created a clear point of friction. On Reddit, some users immediately relayed the official message, urging volunteers to stand down and not interfere. However, others expressed frustration, with one user writing, quote, meanwhile, the poor lady is out there dying while the gatekeepers make sure only they have access to vital information like cell pings, end quote. This comment encapsulates the core of the conflict, the public's belief in the power of numbers and open information versus law enforcement's reliance on controlled, methodical investigation. Some volunteers attempted to navigate this difficult divide, with one searcher stating they had been checking in with SAR daily to ensure we weren't in the way or covering the same ground. Now, this illustrates the delicate and often tense relationship between official responders and the passionate, digitally connected communities that now invariably form around these tragedies. The Monica Reza case became a vivid example of how every modern missing person investigation is, in reality, two investigations: the official one, bound by procedure, and the public one, driven by emotion and the relentless logic of the crowd. Every large scale search for a missing person operates on a finite timeline, governed by factors of survivability, resources, and the diminishing probability of a successful rescue. For the search for Monica Reza, that timeline reached its conclusion after 8 days. The official announcement that followed marked a profound and somber turning point, shifting the case from a hopeful rescue mission to a long term, uncertain investigation. This procedural change, while standard, carried immense weight, fundamentally altering the narrative of the case and the emotional landscape for all involved. On Sunday, June 29, 2025, exactly 1 week after Reza was last seen, Acting Captain Ryan A. Vienna of the Crescenta Valley Station issued a formal statement that officially changed the status of the operation. The language was precise and deliberate. Quoting here, while today concludes our initial response phase of this operation, the statement read, the investigation will continue by our Homicide Bureau Missing Persons Unit. End quote. This announcement did not mean the search was over entirely, but that its nature would change. Captain Vienna clarified that future search efforts will be limited and continuous as data and information further inform our efforts, he said. The era of saturation searching, with hundreds of personnel combing the mountainside, was over. It would be replaced by targeted searches, triggered only by new intelligence or specific leads. The mission had officially transitioned from one of active rescue to one of patient investigation and, implicitly, recovery. The transfer of a case to the Homicide Bureau's Missing Persons Unit is a significant development. While the unit handles all complex and long term adult missing person cases, not just those involving suspected murder, the name itself carries a heavy connotation. For the public following the case, this move was widely interpreted as a sign that authorities no longer expected to find Monica Reza alive. On Reddit, the speculation was immediate. 8 days seems short, one user wrote. I wonder if they have some strong evidence of foul play. In reality, such a handover is often a procedural necessity. The Homicide Bureau's Missing Persons Unit is equipped for the slow, meticulous work of a long term investigation, a task that falls outside the primary mission of a rapid deployment SAR team. Nonetheless, the public perception was powerful. The transfer signaled that the case had crossed the threshold, moving from the realm of hope into the colder, more methodical world of a potential crime or unexplained death investigation. This narrative shift was mirrored by a poignant change in the public posture of Monica Reza's family. In the first frantic days of the search, official statements consistently relayed that her family is concerned for her well being and asking for the public's help. This was a plea for mobilization, an attempt to cast as wide a net as possible in the hope of finding her. However, Captain Vienna's June 29 statement included a new and telling message. Quote, "On behalf of the family, we are conveying their request for privacy at this time." End quote. This transition from a public appeal to a privacy request marks the heartbreaking acceptance of a new reality for Monica Reza's family. The phase of public hope had ended, and a period of private grief and uncertainty had begun. The authorities acknowledged this immense emotional weight, with Captain Vienna stating, "Our hearts go out to Monica's family, friends, co workers, and the community who have shown great concern for her disappearance." The case was no longer an active crisis to be solved by the community, but a heavy burden to be carried by her loved ones and a cold case file to be managed by detectives. The disappearance of Monica Reza, while uniquely tragic to her family and community, is not an anomaly. It's a chapter in the long and unsettling history of the Angeles National Forest as a place where people vanish. The forest's vastness, challenging topography, and remote corners have made it a recurring setting for accidents, crimes, and enduring mysteries. Understanding this context is crucial, as it reveals that the forest is not merely a passive backdrop for these events, but an active agent, if you will, that facilitates disappearances and complicates resolutions. The official list of missing persons in California contained numerous entries tied to the Angeles National Forest, each case a story of a life interrupted by the wilderness. Several notable cases from recent decades illustrate the diverse ways in which the forest can become a place of tragedy. Accidents and environmental dangers. In July 2022, teenage couple Ethan Manzano and Sophie Rayanne Edwards disappeared while driving along the Angeles Crest Highway. Their story ended in tragedy when their Isuzu Ascender was discovered at the bottom of a mountainside. Investigators believe their vehicle hit a berm, lost control, and rolled down the steep embankment, a stark reminder that the roads traversing the forest can be as dangerous as the trails. More recently, in October of 2024, 80-year-old Gary Robert Nussel went missing while hiking in the Chantry Flat area, which had just reopened after a 4-year closure due to the Bobcat fire. His case, which remains unsolved, highlights how fire-altered landscapes can disorient even local hikers and create new, unforeseen hazards. And then there's foul play and concealment. The forest's remoteness has also made it an attractive location for those seeking to conceal criminal acts. In February 1992, 20-year-old model Kimberly Pandelios disappeared after telling her husband she was going to an outdoor photo shoot in the forest. A year later, her partial skeletal remains were discovered just yards from where a witness had seen her with a group of men. Her case was reclassified as a probable homicide and was eventually solved 12 years after her disappearance when a convicted offender was tied to her demise through phone records. Then there's the case of Jonathan Auger, an off-duty LASD deputy, which is even more mysterious. He vanished during a run in the Devil's Punch Bowl area of the forest on June 11, 1998. Despite extensive searches, he was never found, and his case remains an open wound for the department, shrouded in theories of foul play and internal corruption. These cases demonstrate that the wilderness can serve as both a lure for victims and a cloak for predators. Placing the Monica Reza case within this historical context reveals a clear and disturbing pattern. The forest has been the site of disappearances and deaths spanning decades, with causes ranging from tragic accidents to deliberate violence. Now, here's a few other selected notable cases from the Angeles National Forest, illustrating the recurring nature of these events. July 12, 1960, Bruce Howard Kremen disappeared and still missing. February 14, 1988, Albert O'Leary, still missing from the Angeles National Forest. Then, January 25, 2016, George Serrano Zaldivar went missing and is still missing. May 1st, 2016, Michael Patrick Flynn, missing from the Angeles National Forest, still missing. These cases provide powerful, undeniable evidence that the Angeles National Forest is a high-risk environment. The variety of cases, accidents, homicides, and complete mysteries all share a common element: the Angeles National Forest itself. Its steep terrain contributed to the fatal crash of Manzano and Edwards. Its remoteness provided cover for the demise of Pandelios and the disappearance of Ajay. And its sheer scale and ruggedness have, to date, defeated all attempts to find Nutzel and now Monica Reza. This history serves as a somber warning that the forest demands a level of respect and preparation that is too often underestimated, with each new case reinforcing its reputation as a place where the line between adventure and tragedy is easily crossed. The case of Monica Reza remains suspended in the vast, indifferent wilderness of the Angeles National Forest. An experienced 60-year-old hiker, she stepped into the mountains for a routine weekly outing on June 22nd, 2025, and, for reasons that remain entirely unknown, vanished from the trail and from the lives of those who knew her. Her disappearance triggered an extraordinary response, a multi-agency search operation of immense scale and technological sophistication that scoured the rugged terrain around Mount Waterman for 8 days. Yet the mountain kept its secrets and yielded no clues. The official conclusion of this initial response phase and the transfer of the case to the LASD Homicide Bureau's Missing Persons Unit marked a somber procedural end to the hope of an imminent rescue. The investigation remains open, however, a file waiting for a new lead, a chance discovery by a future hiker, or a piece of information that might finally illuminate the events of that Sunday morning. The central questions that arose in the first hours of her disappearance still linger, unanswered and echoing in the public sphere. How and why did she become separated from her companion? What transpired on that ridgeline between 7,000 and 8,000 feet? The story of Monica Reza is a profound and painful reminder of the dichotomy at the heart of the San Gabriel Mountains. They are Los Angeles' playground, a cherished source of beauty, solitude, and recreation for millions. But they are also a wild and unforgiving place, a landscape that does not distinguish between the novice and the expert, and that holds its secrets close. For her family, friends, and the community that rallied to find her, her absence is a tangible grief. For the public record, at this point, it's another name added to the long list of those whose stories end with a question mark in the canyons of the Angeles National Forest, a place where a person can step off a familiar path and simply disappear. Well, friends, there you have it. I look forward to your comments on this one, but please keep it friendly and respectful. I'm Steve Stockton. Until we meet again, I'll see you a little farther on down the trail. Stay safe out there. And please, tell your animals I said hi.